Most people in Long Harbour can remember when the town was just a quiet fishing community on the south coast of Newfoundland. On a calm day, you could hear the sound of a rattling brook across the water. In the mid-1960s, life in Long Harbour changed profoundly. The town became the site of one of the largest phosphorus plants in the world. For the next 20 years, the community learned to live with an industrial giant. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, it was over.
It is with regret that I have to advise you that the phosphorus furnaces at Long Harbour will stop production later this year.
This is the story of a town and a company, and the 20 years of prosperity and problems that they shared. Most of all, it's a story about people, individuals from different countries and backgrounds who were determined to make their plant the best in the world. In the early 1960s, the Newfoundland government was working to diversify the province's economy. They offered low-cost electrical power to attract new industries, and Albright and Wilson Limited saw an opportunity.
In the days we made phosphorus at Varennes and at Oldbury in England, and the Newfoundland government were advertising inexpensive power that they were going to get from their Labrador facility at something in the order of 2.5 mils and for long-term contracts. Electric power, of course, is the main cost in manufacturing phosphorus, and it was that attracted us to Newfoundland.
Albright and Wilson was well placed to take advantage of the Newfoundland government's offer. Their Canadian subsidiary, Urco, had been making phosphorus in Buckingham, Quebec since 1897 and had grown into a major chemical company with plants across the country. Long Harbour was an ideal location for what would be the world's largest phosphorus furnaces. It offered year-round access to the world's sea lanes from an ice-free, deep-water port. There was a nearby deposit of silica and convenient availability of coke and phosphate rock. The provincial government offered roads, water, and housing, and the long-term power contract clinched the deal. On August 31st, 1966, Premier Joseph Smallwood turned the first sod while men and equipment were still being ferried across the harbor in fishing dories. Long Harbour was about to begin a new life.
The community itself was a little undecided, certainly at the beginning. They had some fears, they had some trepidations, and it was an unknown for them. It was a quiet community of fishing people. Suddenly they were going to have an industrial, literally an industrial giant if you want, right next door. They did not know what that meant.
The overall feeling of the majority of people in this community, I think, was one of delight. There was at the particular time a grave shortage of jobs in the area. A fair number of people made a living by fishing, but it was a meager living at best. Some people made a living by working at carpentry and things like this in St. John's and places like Argentia. But overall, the standard of living was rather low. The prospect of a major corporation like Urco coming here and establishing a business of the size that they said it would be was one which certainly created expectations on the part of people as far as getting jobs and making a good living.
Everyone was going to be able to stay home and raise their families in Long Harbour and have work. People weren't educated to the type of industry it was, but everyone was excited and hoped it would be good for our future.
We looked all over for people in order to staff the plant. We were going to shut down the phosphorus operation in England, so we looked there for people that had experience in phosphorus manufacture, supervisory people and some of the operators. We looked within our own organization in Canada, of course, for people with similar training. And then primarily we looked for the bulk of the people that come from Newfoundland itself.
Building and operating the world's largest furnaces was a trailblazing challenge. No one had ever done anything on this scale before, and the size and complexity of the project created some extremely tough problems.
This was the largest phosphorus plant in the world. We had the latest technology. We built this thing with the expectation it was going to run. It was going to be usual degree of difficulty of a new plant, but we were going to succeed and make it run. I remember watching all these people, and I mean all of them, just work and work and work, and we were getting nowhere.
During those times, we had water all over the floor, smoke and dust and everything, which is certainly unsafe. And myself and the president from England at that time got lost. We were only about 10 feet away from one another.
As if these problems weren't enough, soon there was another serious threat to the plant's operation.
Well, the plant was open 2 days when the fish here, you know, in the harbour, where it was up jumping around the water. We used to go out and take them. Well, we were fishing at the time, and we knocked off because the fish got such dyes all come out, popped out of the head and turned red. Herring turned red, and we reported it to the Department of Fisheries, and I don't think they knew what I was talking about.
When the company started operations in 1968, their initial plan was just to empty the phossy water from the furnace plant out into the ocean, with the expectations that the phossy water would be dispersed out into the Atlantic Ocean and it would not be create a problem for the marine life. Consequently, the tidal movements were not as they had predicted, and there was a buildup of elemental phosphorus on the ocean floor, which ended up killing some of the fish in the area.
Research had suggested that the harbor would be flushed by the tides, but that wasn't the case. As soon as the source of the problem was discovered, ERCO built settling ponds outside the plant to catch the overflow and avoid any further damage to the fishery. Local fishermen and the Department of Fisheries helped to estimate the losses of income, and the company paid compensation. Inside the plant, problems continued. By far the most serious was the repeated breaking of electrodes. This is a common problem with all large arc furnaces, but at Long Harbour it became expensive and frustrating.
A broken electrode shuts down one of the furnaces, whatever furnace it might be that you have the broken electrode occur on, shuts it down completely. And the time the furnace is down will vary. It's always at least 50 hours, and it could go up to 4 days. So that's a complete shutdown. 1 year we had 32 breaks.
Consultants were brought in to work on the problem, but nothing seemed to help. In the end, it was the Long Harbour employees themselves who found a solution, through persistence and sheer determination. By 1982, the Long Harbour operation was streamlined and efficient. The workforce was well trained, and employees were taking greater responsibility for their own activities. Morale was high, and the plant's safety record improved dramatically.
The company and the union got together and decided we've got to clean up the plant, we've got to get people working safely. So what they did, they formed safety committees throughout the plant in different departments to make sure that their departments were kept safe. Education was the big thing. And every month they had safety meetings, you know, teaching the men how to operate the equipment right, how to think of their fellow workers. They got everybody involved, they educated people in the ways of safety.
By now, the plant was producing more than 50,000 tons of elemental phosphorus per year and was serving an international market.
phosphorus we produced at Long Harbour was used primarily in detergents, but also went into a lot of food-grade products, transformed into chemicals used in all kinds of different industry and around the world. We sent phosphorus to Japan. The most of it went to England, of course, and a large amount in the final years went to North America.
Long Harbour phosphorus in the last few years, quality has been excellent. I have personally talked to some of our customers, like our Japanese. Our Japanese are very, very particular. And they told me we had the best phosphorus in the world. Our phosphorus is 99.98% pure. In order to produce elemental phosphorus, you need raw materials. These raw materials are power, makes the heat. You need pellets, which contains phosphate, and that gives you your phosphorus. You need silica, which is a flux, and you need coke. And that controls your electrode movement in the furnace. We produce our own pellets on site. We buy phosphate rock, we grind it, and we have a process which we call the Ellis-Chalmers process, which heats the material and makes it round and hard like marbles, and that is the feed for the furnaces. We purchase coke from any place throughout the world. We mine our silica at a silica mine which is owned by Albright and Wilson Americas, roughly 10 miles from the plant. The power then is supplied by the power grid, and our contract is for 130 megawatts. In other words, we use more power here than they do in St. John's, for an example. Then we put these 4 ingredients in the furnace, and we have controls to make sure that the proportion in the furnace is correct on the feed. That's coke, pellets, and silica. And the power is whatever load that you want. We heat up these products. We collect the phosphorus from the gases, and the hot slag then is discharged. The off gas contains the phosphorus, and the phosphorus is collected in condensers into sumps, then settled and pumped from the settlers into a storage tank, and from the storage tank onto the ships. Always water-cooled.
Phosphorus, because of its unique characteristic of burning when exposed to air, had to be constantly stored and shipped underwater. So we developed techniques for storage. Employees never did get a chance to see their product, and then it was put on ships, again underwater, transported to England, and offloaded underwater.
The Albright Pioneer and the Albright Explorer were specifically built for the carriage of phosphorus, and specifically built for the carriage of phosphorus from Long Harbour to Portishead. Their main claim to fame is that they are the only 2 bulk phosphorus carriers in the world capable of carrying liquid phosphorus. And nobody had ever tackled this before, and nobody has ever tackled it since. We have been unique in that respect.
The Long Harbour employees didn't sit back after they solved the plant's initial problems. They went on to develop several important technical innovations, including a world's first in technology to recover more phosphorus from waste material.
Still technology is a process whereby you collect all the phosphorus that you would normally dump into mud holes or be lost to the company. Now this allows us to collect and recondense the phosphorus, this 30-35% phosphorus that's contained in mud, and the phosphorus is recovered and sold. The residue then is reused in the plant operation.
We at Long Harbour developed and expanded upon the technology that was originally put together in England for the distillation of phosphorus mud. The technology we expanded upon Long Harbour gave us larger stills, managed to reduce our batch time significantly, and developed some very new and interesting technology from the point of view of control, where we began to use the distributed control system. We also were fortunate to have some innovative thinking where, for example, what was considered a waste product for a long time, slag, we began to crush, send back to Florida on empty ships as a backhaul, where they used it for road building and construction, sidewalks, parking places, and so forth. And I think John Crosby best summed it up, where he said Newfoundlanders bought the rock from Florida, took all of the good out of it, and then sold it back to them.
But while the Long Harbour plant was riding high on its success, technology was moving on. By 1985, new techniques for the manufacture of phosphoric acid were creating serious doubts about the plant's future. The ERCO organization was restructured and became Albright and Wilson Americas, with full responsibility for plants throughout North and South America. In 1989, the company entered into a joint venture with Olin and Texas Gulf to manufacture phosphoric acid by the new wet acid process. The move was vital for the company's long-term survival, but it was the end of the road for the Long Harbour plant. The news was broken at a press conference in St. John's, Newfoundland, by the Vice President of Albright and Wilson Americas, David Hatherley.
There is now an alternative and newer way of making the same phosphoric acid and many of the same phosphorus chemicals directly from phosphate rock, without making phosphorus as an intermediate. The technology of this newer production method has improved dramatically in the past several years, and the economics of the process have now reached a level at which the phosphorus route is non-competitive.
In August of 1989, the furnaces at Long Harbour were shut down.
Well, I guess if I were to summarize Long Harbour employees in one word, I would say they're resourceful. Long Harbour employees never got down. They sometimes got a little bit exasperated, but no matter what the problems were they faced, they always seemed to come up with good solutions. So I would have to say resourcefulness, and next to that, loyalty. Even during the days of shutdown and so forth, the employees gave 100% right up to the day we closed.
Since the closure, the plant continues to extract phosphorus from stored mud. About 30 people will be working on this project for several years.
I'm considered one of the fortunate ones in that I'm going to be around here for a long time. Because of my position with the company being an environmental technician, the company has told the government that they will continue monitoring until the cleanup is all finished.
Some of our employees will be kept for the ongoing cleanup. Other employees, because of their background in process and chemical work and their trades training, will find work at Come By Chance and nearby industry. Other of our employees we will be transferring to locations, and unfortunately some for a while will probably be unemployed.
You can imagine what it's like, you know, to have to see all those people walk out the gate after you're working with them for the last 20 years and probably not see a lot of them again.
Albright and Wilson is working with officials in Newfoundland to find other uses for the site that might provide some employment. But the 21-year history of making phosphorus at Long Harbour is over. The carriers will not come again, and many will be forced to leave a community they came to respect and love.
In the event that neither industry comes over to the site, all I can foresee is that Long Harbour will become sort of a ghost town.
My husband and I both work here, and he's been working here for 21 years, and I for 13. And of course, the first thing you think about, you know, what's our future? Where are we going to go?
You get rooted down in an area, that's what happens. You got to pull roots, and that makes people very unhappy.
The thought of not coming back to Long Harbour and not coming back to Newfoundland, it's quite sad, very, very sad.
Although the plant is shut down, Albright and Wilson's commitment to the community of Long Harbour continues with the next generation. Of the many scholarships the company offers to children of its employees, over 2/3 were claimed by Newfoundlanders, ensuring that Long Harbour's children will also play a role in the Albright and Wilson Americas of tomorrow.
I'm quite certain, knowing the people there as I do very well, that over a period of time, that community will survive and will, in fact, flourish.
Life goes on in the Long Harbour community, but the memories remain. Memories of struggle and success, of enthusiasm and sheer, rugged determination. Memories of the Newfoundland people who helped make this brave endeavor possible.